Hi everyone, this is Professor Benjamin, and this is a weekly roundup. So I'll make probably 2 or 3 of these roundups throughout the length of this course, and it'll just give you a little bit of a recap of what I saw last week, what I'm looking for in the upcoming week in terms of forum posts, due dates, etc. So we finished session 1. Don't forget that you have your quiz due, which will tie directly to the chapter 1 of the textbook, and that is due by December 22nd, 11:59. And I think there's about 15 to 20 questions on the quiz. They deal with the textbook chapter reading, and there'll be multiple choice questions. As far as so that's what's due this week. And you had your introduction post due by Wednesday of last week. You had your response post due by Friday. And then you also had an initial post due for Tragedy of the Commons and a response post due for those. And then you have this quiz due. And if you look here at the end of week 1, you will see that there's a review for the midterm exam. This review for the midterm exam holds all of the questions that will be on the midterm exam. The midterm exam is an all essay exam. Every answer is supposed to be at least a full paragraph in length, and you need to use sources I have given you. So all of your sources need to come from the stuff that I've given you in this course. So the textbook, you have to source the textbook. And next to each question, it kind of tells you where you can find the questions, where you can find the answers to the questions that are on the midterm exam. And I want you to use the sources that I've given you. So no outside sources are allowed on the midterm exam. All of your answers need to be based on sources that I have given you. So everything needs to be in your own words, sources I have given you. So that is one issue that I am finding, especially with the initial posts. A lot of you lost significant points because you used sources that really had nothing to do with the question. The questions for the introduction session mainly dealt with the textbook chapter, the introduction textbook chapter, and then you could use supplemental sources from that introduction module in there to back up what the textbook said and give factual basis to back up what the textbook said, to give that evidence that what the textbook is saying is accurate. And what happened was a lot of you just kind of refrained from using the textbook and you went out on your own, but you didn't get to the root answer of the questions. A lot of you failed to address negative and positive feedback loops, and that the environment can bring itself back to homeostasis if humans weren't involved. So yes, change is inevitable. The problem is when humans become involved, is the environment can't bounce back from the changes because the changes are so substantial that the environment can't bounce back from those. And the environment does have these things called positive and negative feedback loops that help us to get back into homeostasis. But when the humans are involved, they mess up those positive and negative feedback loops to the extent that the environment cannot bounce back. And so a lot of you failed to address a lot of the questions because you didn't read the textbook chapter that goes with that session. And so I think it's really important for me to address that. This is a really condensed course. You have to put a significant amount of time into the readings, understanding them. It's going to require multiple reads on some of these documents in order to process the information. Okay, so that was week 1. And if you look here, there's already a review for the midterm because you have week 2 here. And if you look here, by December 29th, the midterm exam is due. So you have to make sure that you're preparing now for the midterm exam as we move forward. Okay, and now we're into week 2. So week 2 is here. Here are all my lectures on week 2, and there are chapter readings that go along with the week, as well as additional articles. And then you're going to have an initial post due for ethics, economics, and policy, and a response post. So initial post due by Wednesday, 11:59, response post by Friday, initial post due by Wednesday, 11:59, response post by Friday. So you have 2 initial posts due by Wednesday, 2 response posts due by Friday. And then you don't have a quiz next week because by December 29th, you have your midterm exam due. So this is a lot. It's a condensed course. It's going to require what you typically would put in a week in the classroom. You got to double that or almost triple it, and then put that work and time into 1 week. So it's a lot of material, a lot of information being thrown at you. But most of you, I know you can do it. You did a great job. You did a great job this week. So I wouldn't worry so much. A couple of the other little housekeeping items. Initial posts need to be at least 300 words. They have to contain source and factual basis. You can't just give your opinions and go on. You have to say what every initial post should have first of all, you should have the question typed out at the top. Then you should have a clear beginning, middle, and end. If you're using quotes, you have to unpack the quotes you're given. You can't just slap them in there so that you meet the source requirement. And then response posts need to be at least 200 words. They have to agree, disagree with your fellow classmate, and explain why. So that really has to be an initial post, the 300-word limit. So you need to make sure you're doing that in terms of that. Remember, this is a science class, so it's checking off a non-lab science requirement. So we are trying, it has to be scientifically sound information because it's a science-based course. So I need you to work on that as and many of you are taking this class, so you do not have to take a lab science, and I need to make sure that you're meeting those requirements, those scientific reasoning requirements throughout this course. Okay, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I hope you're enjoying the material. The material is very current. It's very much tied to what's going on in the world today. And so you definitely, if you just look at the news, you'll find information about all of this. In fact, I just saw a video in Africa of plastic waste washing up through the waves. I mean, it was really disturbing video, but it is part of the Great Garbage Patch and how these gyres work, these ocean current patterns work and hold the trash and these microplastics in there. Philadelphia just banned plastic bags to help deal with single-use plastic waste. So there's a lot going on in the world that is tied directly to this course. And so I'm hoping you're enjoying the material. For those of you who celebrate the holidays, make sure you understand that there's a lot coming up. And I know we're having a holiday coming up. If you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah, or even Kwanzaa, there's a lot of information that's going to be coming your way and a lot of obligations. So make sure that you are up to snuff on the due dates for this course. Again, as always, reach out if you have any questions. Remember to start preparing for the midterm exam now. The midterm is all essay. The exam portal is open for 3 hours, but all the questions are given to you before the midterm. So here's what I highly suggest you do. I highly suggest that you type out all the answers before the midterm exam and then just copy and paste them into the midterm exam portal. Especially also for the midterm, you cannot take it on a cell phone because if it freezes, I cannot help you open it, and we cannot retrieve any data when you're working off a cellular device. So a laptop or some sort of home-based computer is absolutely essential for the midterm exam. Have a fantastic week. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.